Hello and welcome again to Money Tips. I'm going to keep this very brief because it's nearly Christmas here in London in the UK, and this message is really going out to all of you who've followed me throughout the year and listening on my podcast on iTunes and Stitcher and on my website, and also to those people who watch me on Facebook Live and make those comments. So it's really just a message to say Merry Christmas, and I hope you have a very enjoyable, peaceful Christmas, and you can enjoy it with your friends, family, or whoever, and that next year is a good year for you. And my sort of money message, if you like, my money tips message is: don't spend money you haven't got, and if you can't afford it, don't buy it. And think about old-fashioned things like saving for things rather than just putting it on your credit card or taking expensive consumer credit. I'm not talking about saving for things like buying a house. Of course, when you buy a property, you need a mortgage because assets go up faster than you can save. So if you saved to buy a house over 10 or 20 years, by the time you've saved the amount you needed today, the property would have probably doubled and trebled in value, and you wouldn't be able to afford it. So of course you need a mortgage for those things, but you don't need to borrow money to buy consumer goods and kids' toys, and that's quite sad that people do get into debt over Christmas period and end up paying for it sometimes for the rest of the year, or even people who are very poor and end up paying exorbitant rates of interest to kind of rent toys and rent big TVs and rent consumer goods from these what I would call unscrupulous companies that rent out things that you and I would just go down the road and buy, but people are renting them out and paying maybe hundreds of percent interest on those goods and items. So it is. I would like to see us getting back to the days, which sounds a bit old-fashioned, where people save for things, and you say to your kids, well, you can't have that. We just haven't got the money, so we'll save it. We'll plan for it next year, or we'll plan for it another time, rather than parents being put under that pressure to always keep up with the Joneses and keep up with everybody else and buy those things that little Johnny must have, otherwise it's the end of the world. Why not get back to basics and what Christmas is about? It's a Christian festival celebrating the birth of Christ. It's Merry Christmas, not season's greetings, and that's what Christmas is about. So let's get back to that and spending time with friends and family, and not so much consumerism that it's become. So that's my Christmas message from Money Tips. If you haven't got it, don't spend it. Yes, borrow money to invest in assets and buy businesses, but don't borrow money to buy toys and pay for a Christmas you can't really afford. You can have a good Christmas without spending a lot of money. Believe me, I gave you some tips yesterday and how you can save money at Christmas. It's probably a bit late for you now, but you don't need to go crazy and spend money at Christmas. And I'm saying this now for people who are thinking about the sales and think, oh, I've got to get out to the sales, got to queue up to buy something that's half price. The sales are largely a big rip-off, really. Goods are brought in for the sales a few weeks before. They're put on the shop shelf at one price, and then they're reduced when the sales kick in, and they're selling off stuff that it's only there for the sale. Believe me, it's all a load of nonsense. I know shops do a lot of their business during the sales. Perhaps a high percentage of their turnover is made during these sales, but don't get sucked into buying things that you perhaps don't need just because it's on sale. So sorry to be a bit boring about that, but if you want to manage your money like I suggest in my book, Yes, Money Can Buy You Happiness, then you've got to learn to manage it properly and not spend money you haven't got. The book is not to say that only money can make you happy, but you need a bit of money to be happy. You need security, you need some stability in your life, and that takes money. Money, after all, is just a tool. It's just something that you give a service to somebody, they pay you in terms of money. In the past, it might have been hundreds of years ago, they didn't have money, they used bartering, or they used some other form, maybe coins or gold or something like this. Now we have money and a currency, which is the standard way of doing things. And the sterling pound is the oldest currency that's still in existence today. So it's worked pretty well for hundreds of years, and it will work well. But you need a bit of that. You need some stability behind you to be happy. Otherwise, you're just not going to be as happy as you could be if you don't have a little bit of money behind you. And that's what the book is about. Yes, money can buy you happiness. And I wrote this with years of experience in financial services, 25 years in financial services. I'm not in it now, working for banks, insurance companies, and running my own IFA practice. So I've had some experience. I've sat down with hundreds, if not thousands, of people and gone through their financial circumstances in a way that they wouldn't even show to their family. So I do know what I'm talking about, and I know that people who have a sensible approach to money, manage their money well, they know what's coming in, what's going out, they know where they are usually happier than people who are all over the place and disorganized with their money. So that's my message: manage your money, and in the new year, set your goals, set your monetary goals, what you're going to save, what you're going to do, and what you're going to plan for. And maybe one of your goals might be to pay off your credit card debts and pay off that consumer debt. And remember what I told you, some of the credit cards now are putting out 40% interest. Some of the banks now switch to charging people for any kind of overdraft at 40%. It's ridiculous. Base rates are 0.75%, not even 1%, and the banks are charging 40 times or more than that if you go overdrawn, and they have to charge you for that. So there you go. Manage your money, and you will be happier if you're in control. Part of happiness is being in control of your life, right? You can't be happy if you feel your life is not in control, and part of that is managing your money. So that's my Christmas message. Have a great Christmas. Thanks for people watching here. Gary, Janice, have a nice Christmas, everybody. And I will speak to you again after Christmas, when we'll start up with more financial news, and I'll be bringing you more money tips to make, to help you manage, enjoy, accumulate, and just be happy with your money. So thanks for listening, and Merry Christmas to everybody.